Fine, good to see you. I want to talk to you for a few minutes this morning about vision. The book of Proverbs says, in the 29th chapter, a people without vision will perish. Now, let me, if you will, try to paraphrase that a little bit. Where there is no vision, law and order will disappear. I want to say that again. Where there is no vision, law and order will disappear. Now, what is vision? Vision is the ability to see things as they exist, to see things the way they ought to be, and to see things that can change. I want to say that again. Vision is the ability to see things as they exist or as they are, to see things as they ought to be or should be, and to see things as they can be. Now, we live in a world, I want you to bear with me a little bit this morning because I'm going to ramble a little bit here. We live in a world where there is not a lot of vision. We live in a world where most people do just whatever comes naturally, whatever that is. I'm not sure what that is. But just whatever comes naturally to you, or to me, that's what we do. We don't stop to think very much about what it is we're doing or the implications of that. We don't stop to think very much how that will influence me and my life, my neighbor and their lives, and our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and on and on. But vision has a way of deteriorating or enhancing the life in which we live. Now, God is a person that created us out of love and planted us in this world at a specific time in history to do something for Him, to be His conduit, to be His vessel, to be the channel through which He would flow through to touch the lives of men and women and young people all about us, that they might come to know Him as we know Him in the world today. And so vision is a wonderful thing. And without vision, law and order will disappear. Vision, that is, of the good, you see, of the godly. Vision of the sacrifice that Christ made for us. Vision of the calling that He's placed upon us. Law and order will disappear. Now, we live in a world where that is rapidly expanding all about us. Here in America, we're so far away from most other countries that we don't pay too much about. Other than Canada and Mexico, we don't pay too much about other countries in the world. But they pay a lot of attention about us. And many of them who have no vision are determined to tear down, to undermine, and to destroy the thing that has made our country strong. Where there is no vision, the people perish. The people that came to America came here to this country because they had a vision. They had a vision that they could live and be free and to worship God as they saw fit. And our forefathers put it into writing so that we'd never forget it. We hold these truths to be self-evident, you see. We know that all around us, while life seems to be decaying, we're thrust into the midst of that puddle, trying to make our influence felt for good in the world today. Now, I'm deeply concerned about one thing, and that is that our culture is rapidly captivating the church. Are you listening? We are being overrun or undermined, if you want to put it that way, by the culture in which we live. If you think this culture is germane and helpful to you as a Christian, you're wrong. Janet had the children's sermon this morning. I don't think she'll mind me saying this. And she talked to the kids about pain at the Uvilla Church. And the question she asked was, should we have pain or should we never have pain? And then she had Dr. come and to be with her to help them find an answer to that. Vision is like pain. Pain is the question she wanted to know, should it be gone, completely never have any pain? And the answer was, no, we need pain. We need to have pain in the world today. Why? Because pain is a teacher. And it's a teacher that teaches us things that we often tend to forget in our country, in our nation, in our lives, in our church. We shy away from pain because, why? Because pain hurts, doesn't it? But pain also teaches. Now, don't touch that stove, it'll burn, you see. And we touch it, and wow, it burns, yeah. Or don't shut that cabinet door in your hand because it'll hurt. And wow, we did, it does hurt, you see. And so we know that pain is a great teacher to us. But our society is quickly trying to capture and to encircle the church, the Christian people in the world today. Now let me tell you how I know that's happening. I can remember not too many years ago when Wednesday night throughout all the communities was church night. Can any of you remember that? Church night. Why was it church night? Because we believed in society that it was a night when people went to church to pray. We coveted that prayer. We needed that prayer. And they went to church to pray. I can recall not very long ago, in the last 5 or 6 years, when nobody would ever have thought of having a soccer game on Sunday morning. Are you listening? Now I notice that they were suiting up to play softball when I came in here this morning, out here at the Diamonds. That would never have happened just a few years ago. And I'm telling you now that the society in which we live has no respect at all, for the most part, for the life of the church and Christian people. We are standing alone, friends, and we need to know that, except for God who stands with us. Except for God. A people without vision will perish. Law and order will disappear. I heard intelligence analysis the other night talking on television about the refugees that are coming to America. They're coming all over the world, but they're coming to America, several thousand of them. And he was saying to the person he was talking to, there's no way in the world that we can monitor that group and find the terrorists that are involved in that group that are coming to this country to destroy it. We can never find them all. They are going to come. That's the price we will have to pay for loving people. You know that? Loving people. I'll tell you, when I see the masses of those people, I could weep. It is so sad. And what do they have? What they carry on their back or on their side in a sack, that's all they've got. I first saw that when I was in Korea in 1951. We woke up one morning and people were coming in droves as far as we could see on flat land, as far as we could see on the railroad track. Filled up both sides with just white. That's what they wore, was white garments. White. And all they had was what they had in their back. They were fleeing the communists. Now I'm telling you this morning that we live in a world where a people without vision will perish. Now Jesus Christ came into the world because God had vision. He realized that on our own we weren't going to make it. He demanded justice and judgment for sin. And we were sinners, and there's no way we're going to get out of it unless he did something drastic. And so what did he do? He said, well, I'll send my son Jesus, and he will go to the cross and die there for their sin. And he will take upon them the sin of the people, and deliver them from my judgment and justice. Friends, the vision of God is why we're here today. And that vision he passes on to each of us here this morning. Now, if you have vision, and if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, you have vision, it leads to three things. First, it leads to concern. You cannot say, I have vision and I don't care. You can't say that. If you are a visionary person, you have concern. The reason that Donald Trump is so popular is because he talks vision. Now, he doesn't use the word vision, but he talks vision. I can fix it. I can build it. I can make it. He talks that way, and people plug into that. They love that. But what he's talking about is vision, folks. I'm telling you, he's talking about vision. Maybe not Christian vision altogether, but about vision. He sees the way things are and sees how they can be once again. And says, I'm working toward that end. You may not believe him or not. I don't know whether you do or not. I don't know whether I do or not. We'll have to wait and see. But vision is there, you see. He's showing concern. Every Christian is a concerned person. Don't talk to me about being a Christian if you don't care for your neighbor next door or down the street or in the community or the next community or wherever they might be. You just can't be a Christian without loving people, you know? We have to be concerned about people. Secondly, we know that vision doesn't only lead to concern, but vision leads to sacrifice as well. Sacrifice is something that we don't like to talk a lot about. When you take the marriage vows, you don't hear much about sacrifice, do you? But we know that down deep inside, when we're talking marriage, we're talking sacrifice on the part of both people. Not just one, but both people. We all have to make sacrifices. I was talking to one of the men who came here to the memorial service this afternoon, an older man. He and his wife had been married for 64 years. And the reason I'm talking to you about it this morning is because he was a Korean veteran, same as I was. Only he was here in 52, and I came home in 51. And we sat down, was talking, and he told me about the sacrifices that they had to make in order for their marriage to succeed. Now he said, she didn't make them all, and I didn't make them all. But he said, I'll tell you, Pastor, one thing. We have never gone to bed angry. That's it. That's it right there. If you don't go to bed angry, you live together happily. You know, I'm convinced of that. It's the truism about life and living together in harmony and in love and friendship. Well, sacrifice. Jesus knew, the only person I ever saw who knew from the beginning of his life that he was going to end up on a cross. He knew from the very beginning that he would die on the cross, and he moved in that direction. His whole life was pointed toward the cross. Nobody saw it until right at the end, but he knew it. He came into the world to do that, to sacrifice himself for your sin, for me and for you in the world today. So we know it, and he knows that he made that sacrifice. Well, when you stop to think about what he's done, it's just an amazing thing. It still astounds me today. Well, I don't know of anybody that believes when they start out the sacrifices they're going to have to make. I just can't help it. I look at young couples who come to me to get married and look at them, and I just kind of think to myself, I wonder if they know how much sacrifice they're going to have to make this go. It's great, isn't it? It's a wonderful thing. Sacrifices, you see, is not all bad. Sacrifices, for the most part, are good if they're sacrifices made for the right reason, you see. So we don't know. If someone would have told me when I had a call to go into the ministry, what I was going to have to do in order to get there, and I'm still doing it today, what I'm going to have to do to get there, I wouldn't have believed them. I said, I'm not going to have to do that. First appointment I had, I was going to college at 3 churches. My salary was $1,500 a year. Now, I want you to think of this. College was $250 a semester. I didn't borrow it, I paid it. So I paid $500 a year to go to college. We lived on $1,000 a year. That's what we had to live on. We would never have made it if it hadn't been for some of the families in the church in charge. We had 2 or 3 families, and every time they went to buy groceries, they'd bring us a sack or 2 of groceries. They never asked us what we wanted. They brought us things we knew we couldn't have. I'm telling you the truth. That happened. God's people You just don't know the sacrifices. When you say yes to Christ, you do not know the sacrifices you're going to have to make in order to be true to Him. I tell you that now, you don't. But the thing of it is, He said, I will meet every need that you have according to my riches and glory in Christ. He'd do that for you and care for you. Well, it's so in all of life. It's not just, it wasn't that way with me, but so for all of us, you see. But mission, vision leads to concern, concern leads to mission, to sacrifice, and to mission, finally. And so we live in a world where we're called to be involved. Now, if you think that Christ came into your life just to save you, you're wrong. He didn't. He came into your life to save a total person to be involved in mission, His mission. His mission was to redeem the world. And friends, however else we can say it, He has hands but yours and mine. No eyes, no ears, no mouth, no body. We are the channel or the conduit through which Jesus Christ lives or dies in the world today. And if we don't want the world around us, the culture around us to open up and swallow us up and spit us out, gone, we'd better wake up. We better wake up. Mission, vision. People without vision will perish. Lawlessness and wickedness will reign. Concern, sacrifice, and mission. It is my mission. It is your mission. In the latter part of the 60s, I was someplace in Indiana, and I don't remember where it was in Indiana, but I was doing an evangelistic service. And I gave an invitation, got through preaching and gave an invitation one night, and the altar lined with people committing their lives to Christ. And one person who came was a high school senior, a beautiful young girl. I mean, a gorgeous young girl, and knelt at the altar. And I was going from person to person to find out if I could help them, find out what they were there for. And I came to her and I said, can you tell me what you're here for? And she looked up at me and tears was running down her face. And she said, preacher, God has called me to be a missionary. Senior in high school. God has called me to be a missionary. And I thought to myself, I don't know whether you're like I am or not about this, but I thought to myself, does that soul know what God's asking her to do in order to be? Chances are she would have at least eight more years of schooling, probably 3-4 years in college, 3 or 4 in graduate school. And then she would have to learn a culture where she was going to be a missionary somewhere at. She'd have to probably learn some of their language so she could speak their language to a certain degree. And then she would go off somewhere that didn't even have an outhouse. Are you following me? And she would minister and preach the gospel with healing and help to those people. And beautiful young lady looked up at me and tears streaming down. God has called me to be a missionary. I said, oh God, help her. I wish I'd have followed that young lady to see what happened to her, but I didn't. But friends, God has called us to be involved in mission, His mission in the world, to redeem the people in your family, next door, next community, to say to them, come on in. He loves you and cares for you. Amen? Amen.